All Dragons. I am Lisa.
I'm Varun.
What are we doing today, Varun?
Well, we have a person with us today, another guest, our second illustrious guest.
The name's Francisco. My online name is Gail Warwind.
Yeah, we're talking to another local DM down here in South Florida. Francisco has run some stuff for me and the gaming store that we go to before, and we've known each other about a year now. I think a little over a year, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much since.
I think we started the
near the end
tabletop stuff at the store in like February last year, like before.
Yeah, so
right
about a year.
Things went off.
Yeah, about a year. And just to speak to like what he's done, our last person, Caitlin, was really one of the best players we played with. Francisco, you're definitely one of the best DMs I've played with.
Oh, really?
Oh,
that
yeah.
I did not know.
Oh yeah, man. Like I played with some good DMs and I played with some bad DMs, and you've got that great mix of you know all of the rules apparently. Like I didn't think that was possible, but you seem to just know all of the rules.
That
but you also
comes from time though, because I've run a number, like when I first started out, what I ran was one shots just to get an idea of how a session would flow and try to get my pacing down, which by the way is still incredibly difficult.
I know. We're gonna talk about that in a second. I know.
But because of that, I ended up having with a variety of different characters that they were one shots, so people wanted to try things that they weren't quite used to. It wasn't their general go-to campaign character, so things would happen and I would have to be like, what is this ruling? It's so obscure. And after doing that, I don't know, 10, 12 times.
Grapple rules, the jumping rules, oh my god.
Yeah.
But no, but I brought that up because you seem to know all the rules, but it also the game doesn't get bogged down in rules lawyering. Even though we've had some of those folks at the tables before, it doesn't get bogged down into like, I've got to look up this thing and I got to figure out this thing. Like you're just like, no, just do this. Like and everyone just kind of goes with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and if there's an issue, I generally go, at the end of the session, bring it up to me and we will make a long-term ruling. The ruling on the table in the moment is a short-term ruling to keep the game moving.
Yeah, but
I have a player currently who is kind of rules lawyery, and he's not. It's a difficult situation because he's kind of got some impulses when it comes to rules lawyering, and generally he's not wrong because he's been playing since 5e came out, and he's built 1,001 characters. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but generally when it goes, isn't it this way? Well, right now it's this way. We can talk about it later. Keep going.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that right now. I need the game to move.
Give me a page number, and but you mentioned one shots. Before we get into your stuff, Francisco, sure. Lisa. Let's and you can chime in on what we're about to talk about. So Lisa, you and I just did a one shot. I ran it for you and some other folks who were definitely newer to the game that you wanted to kind of get their feet wet.
Two new players and two old bags. So a friend of mine got in contact with me that he made his first D&D character and he really wanted to play and he knew I played, so he was like, I want to play with you. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to call in the big guns. So I had Caitlin come in as one of the players. Varun, you DM'd that for me, and then I had my boyfriend as our fourth player, and it was really fun and honestly a little bit different than I've even had other one-shots go. It went honestly more smoothly than any other one-shot I've been a part of before.
Y'all finished it. Not in the way that I expected, but y'all finished it.
We did finish it. We did also skip the entire story and got out with the loot and got like the bad ending. But hey, we survived it, so who cares?
So that's what matters.
Yeah, it was fun to play like a group of characters that had that sort of amorality, gray morality.
I don't even know what morality you guys. So to set it up, they're playing in a homebrew world that I've got, but I used a module I found. I think it's like the Valentine Manor or something like that.
That
It's
was
it's
it.
free on DM's Guild. It's really good, but I kind of hacked it and made it kind of fit the world. They were playing a troupe of traveling circus folk slash heisters who would go from place to place and find valuable things to them to take to just steal. So they were like traveling Ocean's 11 group kind of, except way more chaotic, much less interested in like being the cool guy and much more interested in being like
Rich.
just rich and kind of
I mean,
nuts.
I don't even know if being rich is necessarily our scheme. I think
Exactly.
it's just the thrill of the chase.
Well, rich is subjective in that
Exactly.
sense. So
We are rich in bullshit.
Yeah. So they got
experiences.
Yes.
so they got so they got not conscripted. They really got asked to do this quest that no one else in the area could do because there was some sort of magic barring all of the normal townsfolk from going in. So all of these other outsiders were able to go into this place. So the quest itself is a tale of forbidden love and zealotry to a god and worship that backfires and curses all of these ghosts to haunt this place every hour on the hour. And Lisa, what did your group do?
We skipped anything that would have explained the story. We did not explore the graveyard behind the house. We just went straight up to the 3rd floor. We saw a ghost lady. We saw a ghoul dude saying some really uncool shit. And we were like, this seems bad. Let me unlock this weird random door that we saw this guy doing something at. And then by unlocking that door way too early and not knowing what was in there, what our goal really was in that house.
It was a mystery.
Anything.
And you skipped the mystery.
Yeah, we skipped the mystery. We just opened this door and it's essentially triggered like chaos, just complete.
Yeah.
Just hell broke loose, and it forced. I died.
No. The way that works is that that's the thing that the baddies want to get to. It's behind that door. It's the soul of a child that has been trapped in there for so long and needs to be laid to rest. And you could have opened that door and like had some time to figure out what to do, but we were on the timer, so every time that timer went off, the haunt essentially goes off and the ghosts begin to rise and replay the events of that fateful day. But once the doors open, their actions change because now the thing that they need to get to is gettable. So you've changed the board immediately without knowing you've done that. So as soon as you open the door, you guys hear it, the alarm, and I'm just like, oh boy, and you don't even know what's happening. So then all of the ghouls and ghosts start coming up the stairs toward you guys, and you start fighting them. I'm rolling dice, and you guys see the numbers, and you saw it later on. There's like 50 of these things coming. So you think like, oh, it's a normal fight. I don't think you guys downed any of the normal enemies because there were so many, so they were just spreading out all the damage.
Nope.
And we found out that this party that was haphazardly thrown together, one party member immediately evacuated. He just bailed. He left. He was a monk. They were on the 3rd floor, so he just jumped out the window.
Wow.
Yeah, he was
I
like,
thought he was a rogue.
Goodbye.
There.
We had a monk, we had 2 rogues, and a bard.
The bard was actually dealing with the baby. I'm like, oh, he's gonna figure it out. He's gonna like, he didn't get a chance to go through the story, but like, okay, he's gonna like figure out something's going on with this baby, and we can, maybe they could save its soul. Nope. Lisa's character goes down. The other character also wants to jump out the window.
And the bard, because the bard's being played by my friend who this is maybe his second game. And it's likely that he's heard like so many stories about, you know, don't touch the thing without checking what it is.
Yeah.
So he didn't think to pick up the baby, this ghost baby, or the bones of the ghost baby.
Its remains, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. The baby bones. You know.
He kept trying to like mage hand and do all these other things to like be clever
like,
around
the
it.
key was really just to touch.
To like pick it up. So he tries to like lock the door and bar it, and he's like, I'm gonna figure out what's going on. One of the enemies is a wraith, so it can just walk right through the wall, gets to the baby, and all of the enemies go away because all of their souls have been released from their torment. But the big baddie, he hasn't. His god has forsaken him for the things that he's done. So now he's big super revenant guy who's coming back from the dead to fight the entire party. So their monk who's downstairs is going 1-to-1 with the big bad. So the way it goes is that the bard is like, oh, what do I do? Heal Lisa's character who's down. Their other rogue had already jumped out the window to try and help. And then just like Aladdin, the "Do you trust me" moment where Lisa's character casts Featherfall on the two of them as you jump out the window,
walking down the stairs. It was a nice.
That was amazing.
Of, like, it was a nice piece of like cinematic writing, because in Act 1 when we were setting up our characters, Varun set up a nice little scene for us to be like, what do you do in the circus? Like, what do you do in this performance that you guys do? And in my performance, I used Featherfall in, like, my trick. So it's a nice piece of, like, thing of, like, it's a Chekhov's gun, where it's, like, you know, set up that I have Featherfall in Act 1, and here in Act 3, I'm gonna use it to, like, save us, like, 6 rounds.
To take down the bat. Yeah, to, you know, join the fight. That was pretty awesome. And then...
Coup de resistance.
Yep.
The cherry on top. The way we kill the baddie is our Kenku rogue, who has a bag of tricks, pulls out from his bag of tricks an elk, who stomps the baddie into dust.
It's a giant elk. They'd already heard it enough. They're all surrounding it. I'm like, what are you doing? Just do some damage. There's like 10 HP left. But I'm not telling them that. I'm just like,
correct.
You know, just like, okay, they keep doing these things that are like statusy and going around. I'm just like, kill it already. So Caitlin picks up the thing, throws it, rolls an 8, gets a giant elk. What command do you give the elk? Stomp him, and he does more than enough damage to stomp this thing to death. So that ends the thing. That ends the curse. They can leave this evil manor, and they get the extremely large room full of treasure with like 11,000 silver and thousands of gold and platinum and a bunch of magic stuff. Because, you know, I just rolled and see what they got. Yeah. They got a bunch of stuff. So they're just rolling back up on the town. Yep, we did it.
We had to have the elk carry a bunch of our stuff because it was too much for us to carry.
But just the, like, and this is just an example of you know, like you mentioned, pacing. If I would have redone that, I would have cut down on the intro a little more. Still let you guys have your character moments, but, you know, just let you kind of narrate how your tricks go and how everything's going. You don't have to make any rolls. That's fine. You succeed. You're under no duress. And then get you straight to the house. So then give you a little more time to explore. Because then when you guys were there,
right, is that we failed to mention that this game still ran, like, even though we skipped a bunch of it, this game still ran almost an hour longer than it should have.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
got to like midnight. Like, I'm like, damn, it's late.
Pacing, like, we ran ahead and we still ended up taking longer than we expected to play through this adventure.
I mean, yeah, because you guys immediately got into, like, the biggest combat possible. I was like, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing, like, yes, I could DM bullshit some stuff to happen, but then, like, they're going to know it's DM bullshit.
Yeah. It's really easy to see through DM bullshit. It's incredible.
Really?
I
managed to pull some DM stuff.
It depends.
my home game, they'll look at me and they're like, "Yo, man, I can't believe that you told that scene was wild," and I'm like, "Uh-huh, yeah, for sure." Completely made up.
That
On the
scene
Well, they
spot.
have no idea
that
that
I
it should have
planned.
been 3 times harder, and at the last minute you like cut the big baddie's hit points in half, and you just
No!
ignored one of their.
No, Lisa, no, that's a you thing.
That's a me problem. That's something that I do because I still don't know how to balance. I still don't know how to balance encounters, but
I actually have to, like, most of my encounters have to be balanced up because I don't know if
If you have a good
noticed.
party, normally you do.
Yeah, but like I enjoy giving the party stuff that makes them feel cool and that presents problems later. For example,
I love that. I've definitely played with DMs who do the opposite, where they'll put a problem that's too big for the party in front of us and then not even let us try to deal with it, or put a
just
problem
Deus Ex
that
Machina.
just Deus Ex Machina, or just like I've had a DM straight up tell me what it is that I do to beat it, and I'm like, okay, let me figure it out, please.
That's boring.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's really frustrating.
I've Deus Ex Machina'd some stuff on purpose, like it was planned to be this way, but it was mostly for the I was giving my players an experience that they generally would not get, especially at that point. I had a 5-player group, I believe. It was 5 players. And the premise of that game was the nations of the world all fund this one organization that is designed to take care of the bigger problems that the world may face. For example, a devil incursion. Yeah, that's not something general populace would be prepared to deal with. And it was this group's job to be prepared to deal with that at any point around the world. And there was some political pull here and there because they all funded it, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Anyways, the party started at level 1 because the previous iteration of the group was brutally murdered.
Oof.
Except for one person who was a level 20 NPC who was always busy taking care of problems that they were not yet ready for. So he was never like physically around.
Just heard about him.
Well, he helped train them up a little bit, told them what to expect, and basically let them face difficult problems because at some point he would move on. Throughout the story, you find out that he was the one who brutally murdered because he got mind controlled.
Oh.
So, which is why he wanted to move on. And they were like level 10 or 11 at the point. And they were stopping this huge cult from basically wiping out humanoids in this area, and there's going to be monster races that take over. And they the cult managed to summon an aspect of Tiamat.
Oh God. Level 10.
Whoa.
They were level 10, 11-ish, something like that. And yeah, so they're
staring down the barrel of Armageddon.
Yes.
Literally.
They are literally like, we're going to die probably. And at that point, one of the players had actually contacted the other NPC via Ascending Stone, so he was on his way anyways. And the Tiamat focused the dangerous guy, but area of effect with breaths and stuff, they ended up going down regardless. It was very hard to do that.
Yeah.
But as the last one went down, I narrated how the souls of the previous members possessed their bodies.
Oh, that's some anime bullshit here.
Yeah, and then I gave them their character sheets. So they were now playing level 20 characters.
Ah, okay.
And they were like, I can do this? And I'm like,
I could do this.
yeah.
Time
Can I
magic?
do this? Can I do this? Yes. So the cleric was like, so I can ask my god for anything,
Yep.
and they will do their best to do this. Yes. We're gonna win, guys.
We're gonna be fine.
So,
they
but you set that up. But yeah, you set that up. To go back to like
Yeah.
the point of like Deus Ex Machina, like you set that all of that up and you paid it off, letting the players actually have some agency in that. Whereas
Correct.
the situation Lisa's mentioned, and I think we've all run into this at some point where the DM wants to make it like more cinematic than D&D should be, where you're just kind of bystanders of what's happening rather than being able to like impact it.
Yeah, there is a fine balance. Like,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what's happening and stuff, there is some things that you can get away with if if the players are incredibly invested
Mm-hmm.
and they are interested in what's happening, you can get away with some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But if
Oh yeah.
they're like only partially invested and they want to be able to do stuff,
If they're
it's
in a
not.
one shot where they skipped most of the story and trying to
Yeah,
throw
no.
all of that in before the final encounter,
Yeah,
they
no.
would sniff some DM bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, wholeheartedly.
Which is
Absolutely.
and this is something we hadn't planned on, but this is our episode on DM bullshit. And the and
Apparently.
what we have to say about it is every DM bullshits, just the good ones don't get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I would
there's
have to say that.
I mean, here goes me being like pedantic, but like Vern, you called it like DMs trying to be cinematic, but the thing is that if you understand basic screenwriting rules, is that you can't really, if you're watching a movie or watching a TV show or something and like something happens towards the end that like literally comes out of nowhere, was never set up, no one's gonna be happy with that because it's not gonna make any sense. It's gonna be a big hole. It's not gonna be really satisfying. But if you, towards the beginning, before the big final confrontation, before that big, the big set piece happens, you sow the seeds of it, then that isn't a surprise and it doesn't feel like bullshit.
It doesn't feel contrived.
Right.
No.
So in other words, as a DM, make sure you set up your out.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
That is our lesson for today. If you take nothing else away, set up your out.
Things will happen. Make sure you have your out.
Yep. Okay.
And, like, we all know, like, there's no way to be prepared for every outcome.
Oh, no.
That's impossible because you have no idea. You can't have insight into the inner machinations of all of your players and all of your players interacting with each other. So you just have to be prepared to improvise.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a contradiction in and of itself.
Be prepared to improvise. No, but that's absolutely fair, and just like anything with DMing, it gets better, or not better, it gets easier with experience. The more stuff you run, the slicker you get at doing that type of stuff. But we went off on the one shot, and your story about the level 20s, which is an interesting idea. I'm gonna tinker with that, but
Hey.
let's go back to the beginning. Let's give everyone like a frame of reference. When did you start playing, and like with what?
I started in D&D 5e. I started about, I want to say 5-6 years ago, roughly.
Nice. About the same time as me.
And I was really like intimidated by the role of DM for a long time. So for the first like year and a half, 2 years, I played, and I had a friend who was DM. I think within that first year, I may have attempted to DM something, and it was horrible. It was bad. It was so bad. And it was bad because I didn't like, there were certain things that I did that nowadays I would just never do.
Yeah, I think
Like,
every DM has those moments where they
yeah,
look back like, I did that?
I was running Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Okay.
As a new DM, I've come to learn afterwards that is a horrible module to run as is. Like, there is a lot of like cleanup that has to be done because the module was written before all of the rules were finalized, so some of the things just don't mesh well, and I didn't know any of that when I tried to run it. And on top of that, I got like married to the idea of like the module has to go a certain way. Like, I have to follow the module.
Oh boy.
And it was
Early DM stuff, yep.
Oh man, by like the second or third session, I was like, I'm done. Can't do it. I can't DM. It is not gonna happen.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that is such a early DM thing of that.
If you're doing a module, yeah, like this has to go this way.
Even if you're doing a homebrew thing, I feel like.
Well,
okay,
yeah,
I know I've
even
fallen into that pitfall of
if you have an idea of how
things have to go this way.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, if you want to write a specific story, just write a novel.
Just write a book.
Yeah, but when you're playing this game, it is an improv game before anything else. So don't get married to any sort of sequence of events because they're not going to happen the way that you want them to.
I have gone so far away from that in my current style of DMing, and I think we had touched on this before, Varun. I present a problem to the players, and I, as the DM, have no solution.
I've done that. Yep.
Where this, you're the players. Your job is to figure that out. I'm there to put the set piece in front of you, set it up how everything looks, how everything feels, how, what your characters are experiencing in the moment, and everything after that is you.
Yeah. So
good luck.
And we'll talk.
Some of my favorite style of DMing, and I really wish I was better at it. And of course, that's going to come with practice.
That's the control thing. You got to let go of control. But we'll talk about that at the end. But what I want to circle back a second because you mentioned you hit that point where you're like, I can't DM. Like I can't do this. What was the thing that changed your mind? Because obviously you're still doing it now and you're really good.
Well, I had a couple of experiences with a couple of friends DMing that they weren't terrible DMs, but they made now I would call them mistakes because
you can make a mistake as a DM.
Yeah, no. But back then I thought it was a style. Back then I was like the way he was going about presenting the story, and I was not a huge fan of it. And the funny thing about that is I was the one benefiting the most from it. And I was like, but what about the other people?
What was happening? Because I think
I was the main character.
When you get main character.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I don't want to be main character. And I understand why it happened. In retrospect, I was the strongest player at the table. And I was also playing a paladin who took an oath of vengeance in the middle of a combat when he leveled up to level 3.
Nice.
So I had like a lot of like moving parts to my story that was really ingrained with what was going on.
Sure. And were you the one actually giving the DM stuff, like saying, "Hey, this is the character I'm thinking of. Yeah. This is kind of my backstory," where the other players may not have?
I gave the most, and I was the one who asked for the potential for things to be included. This is the way I envision my character going. I don't need to know how it happens.
Yeah.
I would just, if possible, include this down the road. And he included it like the next session.
Oh boy.
So he gave me.
It's not how you do that.
Basically ended up giving me a magical sword at level 3 that would eventually become a Holy Avenger.
Oh boy.
And
is eventually
sword,
level 5?
No, it was like a +1 weapon that dealt some radiant damage. It was appropriate for my level, but we knew that it was going to turn, like the way it was narrated, we knew it was going to turn into.
It could evolve.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it turned out that he turned this sword into an important MacGuffin to the story as well.
Oh,
Excalibur.
And I was like, I got main character.
So in this experience of being main character, which is something we may talk about with like specific players where this happens, but yeah, when the DM focuses on one player, where the story begins to focus around it. Oh yeah, I know exactly who we're going to talk about with this. But when the story focuses around that single player, the campaign can't really go on without them. All of that. So you see the DMs doing this, and it doesn't occur to you in your mind like, I can do better than this. If these guys could be the DMs, I could do better than this.
It was less that and more of a frustration of not being able to get what I wanted out of the game. So instead of saying, I'm just going to keep looking until I find someone who can provide that, I said, I have to do it myself. And then I ran a homebrew one-shot, which I scaled down for the group. You actually played in it, Varun. The Murder Mystery.
Okay, cool.
That was my first one-shot I ever planned.
Nice.
And ran. And originally it was at level 11. Because I wanted to challenge myself, knowing that I had a person on the table who would attempt to break the game.
Oh.
So I wanted to
be
like, how do I deal with this? Because this is not the first time. This is going to be the first time I deal with it. It most certainly won't be the last.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
That got you on the train. That got you back on the DM train, essentially.
Yeah. He almost ruined the one shot from the word go.
How?
Because you remember the scene where you're talking to the Lord of the Manor?
Yeah, right before he gets murdered.
Yeah. The murderer is in the room with you. She's just invisible.
Okay.
And
that explains some things.
Yes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You were framed hard. But
so was he going to be like, I cast detect, invisibility or whatever?
No. He initially, his first the build of the first character that he presented me with, because I wanted to make sure that I knew what was coming, so I was prepared, because it's only a one shot.
Sure.
And I had allowed him to get like a couple magical items because they were already level 11, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm a great old one, so I'm a telepath with my party members, and my magic item is a robe of eyes." What? What does that do? He can see invisible Oh, crap. What do I do?
Yeah.
It turns out that he ended up preferring something else, so I got lucky.
Very.
But I was like, maybe scale this down a little.
And the robe of eyes is a disgusting item. Like, if you think about it, it's disgusting.
It is. It is. Oh man,
it's because you see in every direction,
yep.
And then you can't turn it off, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so you see everything even while you're like asleep.
Yup.
While it's horrifying. Think of like you see in 360 degrees and you can just never stop.
Yeah, that's absolute eldritch horror.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That's one of those items that I would ban. Absolutely. Just no.
It's fun in concept. It's just like if this really happened to you, I was like, I don't know if I would want this. I might give this to somebody else. Uh, okay, so we saw when you came in, or you told us when you came in, and then what your turnaround was once you hit that wall, which lots of DMs do, and it depends on like, okay, once you hit the wall, are you going to keep going or are you going to quit? So after that, you've obviously had many games at this
At
point.
this point, yeah.
Yeah. So what's been your like what's been your favorite, like the one that led to like that perfect character moment? What's been that?
What are some highlights?
Sure. Yeah. Highlights.
As a DM or as a player? Because I have from both sides.
Both. Sure.
Yeah.
This is a D&D podcast. Either side.
Okay. So as a player, it was shortly after Xanathars came out, and although I like paladins, I was like, man, Path of the Zealot Barbarian looks cool.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So I rolled Path of the Zealot, and I was playing with a friend of mine. His character was a druid
Mm-hmm.
a druid by the name of Atticus. My character was Thelmir, and I based my character of like Norse mythology, and basically
Okay.
I revered the Norse, whatever the equivalent of Norse gods were, and I was on a pilgrimage to imbue weapons or whatever. But that was my personal journey. That wasn't the story of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And fairly early on in the game, Thelmir and Atticus bonded, and just talking. We had a funny combat moment where everyone was sneaking through the jail to try and get somebody out. We came up to a door that somebody was like, "Oh man, the door is locked." So I raged and I barreled through the door, and there were people on the other side, and I just ran up to attack them, which ended the session.
Oh.
And I was like, that was a good end. But after that combat, that Atticus was watching his back and whatever, Atticus dies.
Oh.
No.
Not unconscious, literally dies. We came upon an enemy, like, if you fail the con save, you also lost, the hit points you lost were also deducted from your maximum.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, his HP maximum was 1.
Oh no.
And
So he has to take 2 damage to die.
Correct. So, and the thing is that a different enemy had put a bleed effect on him that dealt 1d4,
no.
just 1d4, and
1
he
in 4
got
chance
dealt.
of living.
He got, in mid combat, the bleed takes him to 0, so now he's at 0. But if he gets dealt 1 damage, that's his hit point maximum in the negative.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what he rolls on this dice. When it's his turn, he's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And we got him up once, and he went down again.
Because he has 1 hit point.
Because he has 1 hit point. My wife's in the back going, I tried! She was a Divine Soul Sorcerer. She was our healer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun flavor of healer. I like that.
Yeah. But you have to be focused as a sorcerer because of their mechanics and their lack of spells.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So your boy's bleeding on the floor.
And he dies.
He just bleeds out.
Yeah. And the DM, who was a new DM, it was like her 3rd session.
Oh. And she kills a player really on the 3rd session?
She feels really horrible about what just happened and tries to
fix it.
Redact or, go back and
quote unquote fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. But the player was like, no. He dies. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to let you change it just because you feel you made a mistake and my character died. That's the way the dice fell. He's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's refreshing.
That's a really good player to like
Yeah.
actually. I'm
Accept
He's
assuming
also
that's a
my
player.
consequences.
He's also a rules lawyer, so
I assume that was the more experienced player to
he
be able
is.
to say like in the third session, I died. You know what? It happens. We can't go back in time unless we have the magic to do that, which we don't at level 3.
Correct. So, uh, my my character, everyone was like kind of bummed out. The
Mm-hmm.
characters were bummed out that a member died, and like, what are we doing to do? And my character picks up his body and walks away with him. Just walks away
Oh.
with his body, and basically creates a funeral pyre,
Mm-hmm.
uh, akin to a
Viking funeral.
correct, and starts says his prayers to his gods. He fell in battle. It was an honorable death, and hopefully, the gods. He may not be a Viking, but hopefully the gods accept him into Valhalla.
Mm-hmm.
As that happens, and his body is burning, the player narrates his goddess uh, picking up his soul and taking it away, and Atticus actually says something to Thelmir.
Mm.
Basically, thank you for, even though it was a short while, thank you for being there with me.
Aw.
You are a true friend. And Thelmir effectively breaks down crying because, in his eyes, a Valkyrie has just picked up his friend's soul and is taking him to Valhalla. And he was
Aw.
bore witness to that.
Yeah. You got that nice moment where the character death like meant something
It's
versus
cool how sometimes it's possible to create those character connections so easily and so quickly, and have it lead to really interesting moments like that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad the player like spoke up and said like, no, like don't retcon this. He died. He had his moment. He died. I think I've done the retcon of a death, although that was just in a one shot. It wasn't for a campaign. Like we immediately started playing and someone died 5 minutes in. I'm just like, bro, that was it. He was
Ooh,
like a
that's a
squish.
rough pill to swallow.
Yeah, he was a squishy
wizard?
wizard. He was a squishy wizard. He ran up in the front and he got murked like immediately. I'm just like, fine. You just like we're 5 minutes in. You don't die.
But like, don't
Let's
be a
redo that
wizard
term.
and run up to
Yeah.
the front.
Yeah, that's a lesson learned.
Unless you're Blade Song, you've got your thing up, your AC's like 23. Don't
Yeah.
do it. If you're gonna play a wizard, if you know nothing else about playing wizards, stand at the back. Stand at the back.
It was a one shot and it was like it was kind of a goofy situation, so I'm just like, all right, like technically you were supposed to die, but like then you're gonna
Don't
do
worry
nothing. Yeah, don't worry about it. Okay. we'll retcon that, but the situation you explained that had impact. So like if they'd gotten through the entire one shot and then they got to the end and he died, I'm like, damn, like you died. And I think he would have been okay with that too, because then he would have like earned it. There would be something behind that character versus like I run up and I get killed.
Woo!
Yeehaw.
Okay, so that's
But I mean, one shots are the time to do the stupid things.
to get kind of goofy.
Yeah, definitely. That was a campaign.
Mm-hmm.
As
So
a DM,
I was gonna say, yeah, you were a player in that. So like from the
Correct.
other side, setting
As
up
a-
the dominoes.
as a DM, I think one of my I've got a couple of highlights actually that I want to touch about in the
Sure.
same campaign. the whole level 20 thing was a cool moment. That right after that, the souls of the departed forgave the NPC for killing them.
Because it was
And
all mind control.
correct, but you still feel the guilt. He still felt the guilt. And I basically, after that, allowed players to like, what do you want to do? Do you want to console him? Do you want to do, what is it you want to do? This is your mentor who is effectively useless right now. And the cleric of the group, because they were revived by the level 20 cleric. Made sure that their bodies were not dead when they left. Walks up to him and has a really nice, touching moment with the NPC, which ends up creating like this whole history in this world later on.
Oh, cool.
In my home game, it is 10,000 years after that campaign. And that NPC and that cleric ended up romantically involved and creating an entire nation.
Oh, wow.
So they're known as the mother and father of the nation where the players are currently citizens of. And their graves are on top of a mountain in that nation, and really well kept, even though it's been 9,000 years since they died.
Okay.
So
that's an interesting way to pay that off.
That happened because of that initial moment.
That player
allowed that to happen.
Taking the initiative there.
Yeah.
Cool.
And another moment was the same player. I did important every player I tried to give like an important part of the story revolved around a specific player as like their
arc.
Yes. And one of the first ones we did was with the cleric, who was a princess of a nation who was conscripted because her mother did not want to send a person. And when they went to said nation to deal with some of the issues that were going on there, she found out her mother was gravely ill. And through a lot of deduction and, clues that were hints that were dropped and stuff, she figured out that her father, who she knew was a polymorphed dragon, which is why her character has draconic features. I just didn't give her anything of a half dragon because that's kind of busted. No blindside at level 1. No. Not for free, anyways. So she found out that the person who cared for her most of her life, her father, because he was the caring and more gentle one, because that nation is a matriarchy. Her mother was the stern one.
Sure.
Was a enemy spy.
Oh.
Who was slowly poisoning her mother to then kind of win over his daughter and allow the draconic nation to control this other nation because his daughter would side with him. She uncovered that plot before her mother died, because at that point they had interacted with him already as a dragon, and I had already been, like the concerned father, caring. Do you need any help? Are you sure you're gonna be okay? All of these things about a caring, gentle father figure, and they confront him about this thing that he's doing, and he goes, well, I don't want to hurt you, obviously, so I would like for you to join me, and this is what we would do. And she flat out rejected him because
Yeah.
he was doing something she considered wrong.
Kind of evil. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And basically had to kill her father to do the right thing.
Oh, damn. Oof.
Dunk.
Oh, that's good. I presented one of our players with a very similar situation where where she was a mercenary. Her entire mercenary band got murdered. Murdered because they had a traitor from within. She didn't know who it was, but she had to seek them out. And she sought out this person using some magic, but still couldn't figure out who it was, just which, place they were in. Found the person and realized, oh, it's her dad. It's my dad. But there was other stuff going on, and then where he did it to save her, essentially.
Yeah, he wasn't fully in control of the situation.
Yeah.
And now he's teaching our son how to read.
She had that moment of like, do I kill him or do I not? And he basically took her aside and said, like, I've been a shit father for whatever the reasons. I've still done bad things to you. So he gives her that opportunity. And I was like, I genuinely don't know how that's gonna go down. Is she gonna forgive him, or is she going to absolutely kill him right now? And she let him live, and he became friendly grandfather, training your now upper teenage son as an NPC to hopefully defend himself.
Name after him, so
yeah,
the character he's talking about named the child that we adopted after her father because she still revered him. She didn't know that he was a traitor, and then when we found him, she was like, "What?" And then and now Lucian Senior is training Lucian Junior. It's great.
Yeah. But no, that's we had
a couple of sessions where you would say like Lucian's doing this, and we'd be like, okay, which one?
Yep. Yeah, I have to refer to them as junior and senior now, because we have two Lucians running around in the same place doing usually the same thing. But no, I like the ideas that you've got of paying off these interactions. Sometimes right there in the game, and then sometimes, like you say, in an entirely different campaign.
Yep.
10,000 years later in that world's timeline.
Correct.
I try to do some of that in the world I'm doing, but
I'm gonna do that with your character too.
Awesome. Ventra the artificer gets to impact the world. Awesome.
Oh, you're playing your Iron Man character?
Yes.
Yeah, in that campaign, which he's only taken a break because of the world and
because of the pandemic. We actually let's get into it right now. So I was playing in a game at our local gaming store where you were DMing, and we had a kind of nice motley crew of folks who just kind of randomly came together and then actually ended up being a pretty good group. And because of the pandemic and whatnot, someone actually got exposed, so I stopped going there. But our last session was actually a pretty good one. I've mentioned her before, Ventra Horcus Porcus, the best name I've ever rolled on an automatic name generator. my gnome artificer who does not like to get her armor dirty, but will absolutely smash a giant squid if needed. Um,
And then complain about the ink.
yeah, and then complain that her armor is disgusting now. She'll have to have her cabana boy wipe her down. Uh, her beautiful elven cabana boy, which you gave me, thank you. Uh, but and we'll fast forward the beginnings because the beginning is pretty much we get together, we have to go on a quest, and we have to ride on this boat to go get to the dungeon to rescue a person. But with the added wrinkle of we have a kind of inconsistent group because some people can make it certain weeks and some people can't. So you and your wife who are running this in tandem give us the item of we have essentially
what do we call it?
I don't know if we called it anything. Just like a teleport. Yeah, a teleport badge.
Yeah, it's also Ascending Stone, so it's like the guild's version of Ascending Stone.
Yeah,
to the guild and use it to port back to the guild if the generally was designed to if a player wasn't there.
Yeah, explain why they weren't there.
Ported back, and to explain why a new character was showing up, you can another guild member can port to another guild stone.
Yeah. So DM bullshit, but you know what? We just hand waved it because we have an inconsistent group. We all went with it. That's what matters.
And then this guy decided to use it to finagle a solution.
So we set it up. We're going down to this dungeon, and we're kind of getting our asses kicked. I'm one of the characters pushing us to go a little further, and it pays off because then our barbarian gets a belt of storm giant strength. So he's
fire giant.
Whichever. He's just murderously strong now.
He has a strength of 25.
Yeah, he's like, I can do what?
So much.
Yeah,
that was randomly rolled.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, we didn't necessarily need to go into this place, but look at our boy now. He is stronger than he's ever been.
The party did not like him initially, though.
Yeah, so we're yeah, and there was a moment where I'm like, where everyone was like, oh, this is looking bad. There's 20 orcs in there, but me as a seasoned player, I'm like, we can just bottleneck these things. We're in a dungeon. We just have to work together, and everyone wants to split up, and it's like, oh my god. But yes, there were some moments people went down, but no one, everyone got healed. We all worked together as a team finally at the end. And we get to this point where, okay, we've cleared out most of the things in this place. There's still some stuff running around, but our goal is to rescue this person. Okay, we find the person at the very end of the dungeon. But then you, with your slickness, tell me oh, there's this staircase, this ramp, going down into this deep dark area. So everyone's dealing with the person that we're supposed to be rescuing. I'm just like, what is down there? What the hell is down there? So I shine a light or whatever. Oh, it's a dragon's horde, and there's no dragon there. So, hello, friend with detect magic. Can you detect if there's any magic down there? He does so, reveals a bunch of stuff. I don't know what it is. It's just there's a bunch of magic stuff. And then you start giving us a countdown hey, the dragon? He's coming back.
Who was it? Primeval Awareness.
Yes.
Your ranger was the dragon's a mile off. Fuck.
So everyone has the choice of we
literally the Jaws theme playing in the background.
Yeah, this dragon's flying toward us, and then the whole party has to make a choice of do we go or do we do something with this treasure? And for most of the party, it's let's just go. I'm not fighting a dragon at level 5 or whatever we were at. And
they found out it was an adult white dragon too, so they were like, we're gonna die.
So, but I'm like, treasure. So me with my tiny robe, but with winged boots, flies down into the horde, grabs all the stuff, and I remember halfway through, you're like, You've got about half of the stuff. Do you want to keep going? The dragon, you don't know where the dragon is. I was like, screw it, I'm taking all of it. And I take all of the dragon's magic stuff, throw it into my bag of holding, which another player had given me, and I did not give back. And I fly up, and I have no idea what I have. I take all the magic stuff. So then, we're here. Now we're stuck. Like, we're in this place. We can't leave because the dragon's right outside. It'll see us running away and get us. But if we stay here, it's gonna see its hordes missing a bunch of stuff and either come out or sick all of its goons on us. So we're just stuck in this tiny room trying to figure out what do we do. So I'm just looking at all the magic stuff that I have. I'm just like, figurine of power. It's a giant fly. That doesn't help us. A spell scroll. It's gaseous form or something. That doesn't really help us. A bunch of potions of healing. You can help us in the fight. We're probably not going to live through that fight though, with an adult dragon.
You guys pull the helm of teleportation.
Yes, I got the helm of teleportation. I'm like, this is the thing. We have exactly enough people. Our party was just big enough that could teleport us and our guest, our NPC, back home, and we'd be fine. So I'm just like, yes, but I can't use it yet because I have to tune to it for an hour, and in that hour, we're almost certainly going to be found. So we're all thinking like, what do we do? And then it hits me. I have a bag of holding. So and I ask you specifically. So these guild badges that we have, they can send us back and forth, but they can only send us back and forth, right?
To which I said, yes, only you.
Yes. Yeah, so we were thinking, and like, if we all go, we'll live, but we'll fail our task, and we're just gonna look like a bunch of bozos in the eyes of the guild. And then I'm like, wait, so this will send me and everything I'm wearing and holding back to the guild. And then I realize I have a bag of holding.
Did you put your guest in the bag of holding?
Yes.
You better bet I did.
You can't do that.
Yes, you can. If the living creature, which Francisco established, she could fit into the bag of holding, and if they can fit inside there, they'll have 10 minutes worth of air. Anything beyond, and if you put multiple things in the bag of holding, it starts dividing up the amount of air by the amount of creatures in there.
Yeah, so if you put another person, it's 5 minutes of
5 minutes of air each. So it's the moment where I look at Francisco, I'm like, if I put this person in the bag of holding, can I teleport myself back to the guild and just immediately let them out? I think specifically what you say is like, okay, that was clever.
But like I said, I had no idea how they were going to get out of this. I basically threw a problem at them.
Consequences.
And it's like, things keep happening, and it's like, if you get into a battle with an adult white dragon, good luck.
Yeah, good
Can't
luck.
make any promises for making it out of that.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, they had ample opportunity to leave.
Yep.
Yeah,
but
start rolling up new characters at that point.
But you know what? I knew there was something there. I knew there was something to do with this. So I got all the magic stuff. When we work out this flim-flam between us, and the last thing we have to do is, like, I tell the party the plan, and you confirm that it'll work. But we have to convince the person. So it's like in the game, I tell the party this in character, and everyone just looks at the NPC. And it comes down to...
And first thing she goes, hell no. That was her first response.
And it comes down to first us trying to persuade and fail persuading to put her in this bag.
It was a bad roll.
Yeah, none of us were charismatic at all. To all of us then just deciding, like, lady,
knock her out, throw her in the bag.
You're gonna get in this bag one way or the other. Don't make us not, like, easy way or hard way, because this is how this is happening.
Because it's this or a dragon.
Yeah, it's this or the dragon. So
she also said that if her life was in danger, she was selling them.
She was just gonna sell us out.
Like, real fast.
There's no loyalty.
None.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to survive. Can't say the same about you.
Yeah. So everyone just blocks the door and is like, please get in the bag. Don't make us force you into the bag. And the intimidation finally, the intimidation of the entire group just finally like, okay. And like she's very, and like we're not mean about it, but like you have to go in the bag. We put her in the bag, teleport out, immediately get back, yank her out of the bag, and just like, and we just, ta-da! Here's your person.
Like a funky little magic trick.
Oh man, it was equal parts clever, intelligent, creative, and completely ridiculous.
It was all
that's the best kind of solution, is the solutions that are just technically correct.
They're technically correct, even no matter how ridiculous they are. They're technically correct, and we succeeded. We got our pay. We saved this lady. We got all of our magic stuff. And you know, after that session, when we were done and we were all safe, and everyone's like, "Ooh, we're safe. We can heal. We can level up." Everyone who was like, "Yo, we got to get out of here. We have to leave. Like, we can't go down and mess with this dragon stuff." Hey, man, can I have some magic items?
Every last one. What you got in there? Can I use something?
Can I get some of that magic?
Oh man.
Oh, but when it was time to get the magic items, you were all like, "No."
Suddenly
it's time to distribute, and you're all like, "Gimme." Okay.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, that's how it is now, huh? There was definitely some stuff I gave away because like it didn't apply to me at all. Like I can't use this. I'll give this away. But I definitely made them feel a little ways about like, yeah. Remember when I was getting this? Yeah, remember what you were saying?
He still kept a majority.
Yeah, I still kept most of it. Oh, that was such a good last session though. It left off on like a bit of a cliffhanger for the next mission, but then. Yeah, the rest of the party is gonna do that. Have they been continuing to play that?
Yes, they are on their way to something called the Well of Seeing, because there is a person with a white dragon mask who is supposed you have intel that the party has intel that he's there saying one thing, but he lost his mask and he's looking for it. So maybe you can get there and find it first. So that's what the party's currently doing.
Okay, that's good. And you know, once things calm down, once at least I'm able to get the vaccine, and hopefully other people are finally able to get the vaccine down here. You know, Ventura will be back, but for now, you know what she's doing in between sessions. I've told you about that. She's trying to make the perfect armor, and
correct.
We both know how that's going to happen, but I need to make some rolls and spend some gold on that. So we know what's happening. It's not like
you don't have enough gold. You have so much gold.
I have so much gold. But yeah, that was like it had already been a long day that day, and I was like, you know what? It is time. It's time to play some D&D, and like the creative juices were flowing that night, and I pulled that BS out of my ass, and like it just worked, and you like that look on your face when it's like, he's right.
It was more of like, wow, I would have never thought of that.
I was gonna say, like, what was going through your head when that was happening? Because I've had that happen to me on the other side of the table as well.
As soon as he started like asking the questions, I was like, he is not. He can't be. He is. Oh.
Yep.
That's awesome. Kind of also circumvents a lot of stuff that I had kind of prepared for. But it's cool.
Yeah, the journey back, like how do we, what happens with this dragon? You know what? Bypass it. Thought our way out of it, for now at least. Maybe at some point that dragon's going to revisit Ventura and we're going to have some words. But, until then, I'm going to enjoy my helm of teleportation.
Yeah.
So with all that said, Francisco, A question, a thought.
Yes.
What would be like a piece of advice that you would tell yourself at the beginning of your like D&D and DMing journey?
At the beginning of my DMing journey.
Yeah, what's something that you know now that like you wish you knew then?
Oh, a small list would be make sure you prepare, but prepare to throw it out.
Yeah, that's good. That's perfect. Prepare
That would
to
be
improvise.
that would be the first thing. The second thing is you're going to make mistakes. Basically, get feedback because
thank God.
it will make you so much better. Like
Yeah.
understanding maybe you thought an idea was good and maybe from your point of view it played out one way, but from the other side of that screen, not quite. It's good to know those things. And you're
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
that needs tweaking and stuff, and maybe there's something that the party felt was lacking that I can work on or develop that skill.
You have no idea how like vindicated we feel that you said exactly the two things that we harp on all of the time.
Yep.
Which is don't over prepare and communicate, talk to your players, get feedback.
And the last thing though, one of the things that I every now and then I still have to remember to tell myself is that even though you are putting in way more work than everyone else at the table and end up more involved in what's going on because you're the DM, it's still a game. You're still supposed to have fun.
Oh my God, yes!
Yes! We did not put him up to this, folks.
Oh, we did not script him.
These are, we're harping on it because these are all the things we harp on when we talk about like DMing and running
Literally
games.
Our second episode, these were our 3 main points were don't over prepare, talk to your players, have fun.
Yeah, you're a player in the game too, which I think a lot of DM, especially less experienced or DMs who've been in closed groups don't realize. Like, if this is like a second job to them and they're stressed out the entire time playing the game, like, tell that to your players. Something's wrong here.
Yeah, if it's causing you legitimate stress and like you're literally losing sleep over it, like reassess whether this is something that like you really, really need to be doing right now, or if there's a different way of going about doing it, if it is really important to you to play D&D, but like take care of yourself and don't expend that mental energy on something that's not doing any good for you. That's meant to be a leisure activity.
One that takes up a lot of time too.
Yeah.
Depending on how it goes.
Yeah, it can easily be like 5 hours a week. That's a shift at a job.
If you're the DM, it's more than that because you're spending the time planning too.
There are times when I have spent legitimately in a week preparing for a specific session. I spent 30 hours on it.
Damn.
Wow.
But that was a specific session. It was one of the ones I prepared the most for. There was a lot of twists and turns that I was going to take the party through, all very back to back to back to back to back. I played an audio clip for them. I basically took a ritual chant that I got in English that kind of evoked what I wanted. And I recorded myself in Draconic saying it and then messed with it so it sounded like it was Draconic from a Draconic person. There was a lot that happened that session. That was the session.
Sounds like it.
That was the session that they found out it wasn't my wife's player character. It was mine, and they got betrayed.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even talk about that. You told me that story, and I didn't know if we can get into it, but like...
No, probably not.
Yeah, well, we can do a second part about player betrayals and the best ways to pull that off.
Well, before anyone goes trying that, understand that is a lot of like trust between the DM and the party and the DM and that player.
Mm-hmm. And treading carefully.
A lot can go wrong very fast.
There's so much more I want to talk about. We didn't even get into some of the softer stuff, but the stories are really good. So we'll probably have you on for like another chat sometime about some other stuff. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Francisco. You've been a delight.
Thanks, man.
Love
That
to
was awesome.
talk to you. Very cool stories. We will have you on again because you clearly have so much more to share with us. Yeah, this has been Oops All Dragons. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Oops All Dragons is a group effort. Our show is edited by Noel Hernandez, our theme was composed by Brendan Lyons, and our logo art is by Azif On Q. Links to more of their work and their social media will be in the show notes.